Broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Pensacola, Florida, it's time for Pensacola Business Radio. Now, here are your Business Radio X hosts.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Keith Overt here, broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Pensacola. And I am surrounded by the table today with some really important people in my eyes that are doing some really cool work coming from a very heart-centered place. And so I auspiciously invited all of them here to show up at the same time to drop the bomb on them that I was wanting to connect the dots and really let them talk about all the great work they're doing. So enough from me. I'm going to let you guys go around the table and introduce yourself. So by all means, Arvin, jump in.
Hey, I'm Arvin Money. I'm the founder and president of Mode, Mind, and Body, and we're a float center and wellness lab, I like to call it. We're trying to get people healthy again without a lot of thinking and a lot of effort.
Less thinking, better feeling, right? Mm-hmm. Very cool.
Awesome. That's a better way to describe it. I didn't know how to describe it. I like that.
Yeah.
Floating Wellness Lab. That's awesome. My name is Colleen Edwards Chesley. I am the founding director of a local organization that empowers and promotes, advances, and improves women in business called Powerful Women of the Gulf Coast.
Very cool. My name is John Shell. I'm the founder of an organization called Upward Intuition, and we're working on a skate park project downtown, and I'm also a realtor with Levin Rinke Realty.
Man, you are a jack of all trades, man. That's awesome.
I agree with that. I'm Megan McCarthy. I'm the Director of Community Health for Baptist Healthcare.
Very cool. Okay, so I got to say this. John, I saw your website for Upward Intuition, and what's the first line that's on there?
Thoughts create reality.
That's it. So, like, the second I saw that, I was like, dude, that's my people. So, which is very cool. But, and then that ties in with the Blue Zone. So, like, Megan, like, kick it off, because I think this is a really cool thing.
Yes, it is. It is really cool. So, the Blue Zones, for people that aren't familiar with it as a term, basically was a book written by Dan Buettner. And he was a National Geographic explorer who was going all over the world. He actually has some world records for cycling around the world and all these different things. And he was convinced that there were these places all over the globe that people were living longer, like essentially fountains of youth. And so National Geographic brought in the epidemiologists and the scientists to say, okay, is this real? Let's look at this. And they did. They found 5 all over the globe that people were living a standard deviation higher than their like regional counterpart past age 100. So this is like 106-year-olds that are surfing, 103-year-olds that are like, dancing,
skydiving and stuff. Yeah.
Like just from a crazy like lifestyle point of view. So I think the natural question was, what do these places have in common? Because they're Japan, Sardinia, Costa Rica, Greece, and there actually is one in the United States, but very, very different cultures, very different, life on a daily basis. And so basically they drilled down to what these areas had in common. And then they were questioning, can we reverse engineer a blue zone? Can we take a community and get them to living past 100, and not only just living to 100, but living well? And that's what the Blue Zone projects have been about. So
the answer to that is yes, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
The answer is yes. And so this concept, I actually lived in Okinawa, Japan for a while, and that's one of the Blue Zones. So I kind of had my own living lab that I got to firsthand experience some of these things. And that's kind of it's really brought to life kind of a concept that when I moved out here 5 years ago from San Diego, my operating vision was to make Pensacola the San Diego of the South, because I thought Pensacola has everything that San Diego has, and almost everybody in the world associates San Diego with living well and, being full of energy and this lifestyle. I'm like, we need to have that culture here. And so the Blue Zones has really kind of brought an academic end to that philosophy.
Okay. So, by the way, that's a huge thing to bite off and chew, right? Like you're like, let's just go big, right? Okay. So how does one start to develop or reverse engineer into a blue zone?
Well, the first thing is to really acknowledge the power of your environment.
Right.
And I think as Americans, we really get caught up in this like, determination, free will kind of point of view that leads us down a dangerous path, because we get stuck in 2 boxes. One is my genetics are so bad, I can't do anything about it, so I'm giving up. Or this like elitism of being healthy is like, well, I've earned this. And it really isn't either of those, to be truthful. I mean, genetics play about 10% of a role. Lifestyle is is the other 90%. And we are really influenced by those around us. So this has, that makes common sense that, a lot of these things are when we say they're genetic, it's really that your family has passed it down as a culture, not necessarily in your DNA.
Right.
It's that's what your surroundings reinforce. And so we, most of us that are at work or sometimes even school, we're spending more time in that environment than we are in environments that we create or have power over. And so realizing that adjustments in our environment can lead us down a much healthier path without doing any more work. And I love not having to think about it, because what we all really want is we want the healthy choice to be the easy choice.
Right.
We're not going to take away choices, but the path of least resistance throughout the day when our priorities are other things, we want the health just to be a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And so that's really what I've been trying to do, and Baptist is really trying to do, is we're trying to get out of the hospital, because the first thing we know is that inside the hospital is a whole different ballgame. We want to really keep you out of the hospital.
Yeah, because sometimes it's a lot of times it's not fun when you're there.
It's not really fun.
Yeah. And you're there because of, let's face it, you're there most of the time because of the choices that you have made, whether it's your diet, whether it's your exercise, whether it's the way you've chosen to take care of yourself, or the environment that you've chose to keep yourself in.
And that's a lot to deal with in those acute situations.
That's a hard thing to swallow for a lot of people.
It really, really is.
Yeah.
And it's overwhelming. And, without a path out of that, people can get really discouraged. And again, we're getting back in that cycle of feeling powerless and not being able to do something about it. And so, one, I really encourage people, to really share their health achievements. Sometimes people don't want to brag, but it's like, you're going to inspire someone else and realize that it is possible to do those things. And then really using the Blue Zone terminology, start with blue zoning your desk or wherever, where you spend that work day. Because most people have control over that. You can blue zone your home. You can talk about where are you spending your environment. You can blue zone your car.
Yeah.
And it's just meant to make sure that those environments are pushing you down the healthy path. And then that's how you get that forward momentum that just starts kind of being, I call it a self-licking ice cream cone. It's going, but not ice cream. I mean, fruit cone. Yeah. So, those are the things that when, we think about communities, our health is all connected.
Yeah.
My health is connected to every single person at this table. And we kind of talk a little bit about it with vaccines and immunizations about herd immunity. And we really are. We're a herd. And so there's, people in our community that can't get, let's say, the flu shot because they're immunocompromised or an allergy or for whatever reason. But the more of us that do, the more protected that we all are.
Right.
And like I said, we can't get stuck in this thought about health being very personal. Like, I'm not going to talk to you about your health because it's your choice and I respect your decision. It's like, no, your choices are impacting me, and let's move forward as a tribe, as a herd, down that healthy path.
Yeah. Well, and there's some power in that, right? Because one of us is not as good as all of us, right? But you have to accept the fact. And that's, I think, is probably the first step for a lot of people here. Are you finding that as because you've been at this for how long?
5 years.
Yeah.
5 years.
Yeah, that's 5.
Yeah.
And you've just now sort of cracked the iceberg, right?
Yes.
Record your progress, however small it is.
No, we definitely are making progress. But right now, as I'm planning for the next 5 years, and I realize I'm going to be a decade into this work, and one of the things I found, people are sometimes shocked by our community health rankings on the county level. And the Robert Wood Johnson is the biggest philanthropic nonprofit in the United States, and they rank every single county in the United States, and you're ranked against your state. So when we look at Florida, 67 counties, we are right there at the bottom. It changes a little bit year to year, but I think we're right at 59th right now. And for where we are, we're probably the biggest of the sickest, if that makes sense, because there's some counties that have less people in them. So in a lot of ways, sometimes we culturally align closer to Alabama and Mississippi. I'm not going to talk about football, but we're scored against, Miami and other places like that. And so sometimes I'll tell people that and they're really, really shocked. And so I try to take it out of the health deliverables or the disease statistics and just say, well, when you look around, are you seeing your family, friends, neighbors, coworkers? Do they Are they looking healthy? Are they full of energy? Does it seem like they're never getting sick? And when they do, they bounce back right away.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, not really.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's really what health is about. It's not about, I don't think, can be drilled down to one condition or another condition, because the root issues about a healthy community are really about that. Do you have places that you can play? Do you have, options and opportunities? We have great access to healthcare in Pensacola. And we have 3 tremendous hospitals.
Yeah. Yes.
We have great medical providers. But I think we're starting to realize that they can only do so much. And really, it is up to us on a daily basis. It's so much more powerful what we do every day than what we do every once in a while. And I think we're naturally attracted to running the marathon. And one day getting up and running 26 miles. But what would be better for us is to walk a mile a day and then take 4 days off. But that's just not as sexy.
Go for the long run, right? Although it is easier. See, and frame it that, it's easier to do that. It's easier to do the little bits every day to sustain than it is to go, okay, it's January 1st and now I've got to just kill it, right? For 4 hours and then I'm done.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and I think with all of you around this table in some way, shape or form, applied to a better health as well as a better community. But you said the hospitals can only go so far, right? But having somewhere to play and go and recreate. I mean, I can't tell you how good it feels when I just sit on the beach, right? Or how good it feels when I float in the tank and don't have to necessarily sweat my butt off running, right? To feel better. Or how good it feels to consume something that educates me or leads me down a path of bettering myself, right? So there's so many different aspects, I think, to contributing to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how does the skate park fit in, right? Because everybody's like, wait, what? Like, this is just some skater dudes wanting to cause trouble, right?
Oh, but it's not.
And girls.
So, when we talk about Pensacola, we do brag about our beaches and our up and coming downtown. But we have to have more layers than that. There has to be, we want to be more than just a one-trick pony. And so we really do need more infrastructure that allows for that play that people look forward to going to, that they're super excited about it. And I always tease John that he's making healthy cool.
Yeah.
And again, that's what I can't do in the hospital, And
by the way, we've been making healthy cool for a long time. It's just now being society is accepting cool for healthy.
Well, John makes it really cool. So, so the skate park, again, obviously is going to be an amazing playground for skaters.
Yeah.
But John has gone beyond that and really made it so that really everyone in Pensacola can enjoy it. And so there's going to be a walking path so that whether you have a sibling, a child, a friend, a parent who's skateboarding, you can also get recreation. It's an outdoor space. I know John's going to talk about it a lot, but it really will hopefully be one of those places that we brag about.
Yeah.
And to say, hey, you're going to come visit me, or that people will come in from out of town as well. So not only is it beneficial to health, it's also an economic driver.
I'm just excited because the X Games are going to be here before we know it. I'm stoked. So all right. So John, let's get into it, man. Like because again, this is a huge thing to bite off, right? I mean, people have been trying to do skate parks here in this town for a long time, and we had one for a little while over by Liberty Lanes or whatever, and it kind of just fell off. But
we've had several.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's my point, right? We've had several. They lasted for a little while. There was tons of resistance to having them in the first place, right?
Liability.
And you're just like, screw it. I'm going for it, right? So let us in the head there.
Well, it really kind of started as a way for me to just scratch my own itch, because I love to skate. I've been skating since I was 10 years old, and as you mentioned, we used to have a skate park. We've had multiple skate parks over the years.
Or made your own.
Matter of fact, back in the late 70s, there was a park here called the Paved Wave, and it was the second skate park in Florida.
Wow.
And the fourth skate park in the United States.
Wow.
And it's pretty cool.
Where was that?
It was on Navy Boulevard, of all places.
Wow. Had no idea.
It was open for a few years, but a lot of the guys that used to skate that park are in their 60s and even 70s now, and so they've all really gotten behind our initiative and our skate park. And I was hanging out with a lot of them last night at Surfers Memorial, and they're so excited. So we want to do a little section of our park kind of to pay tribute to the Paved Wave, where the old guys can still get out there and skate and have more
smaller obstacles,
more of a lower impact. I don't think they're going to be sliding too many handrails or jumping downstairs, but they'll get out there and do some turns.
Right,
like a bunny hill.
Yeah, there you go.
Colleen will be out there too, right?
Absolutely. I'm not quite in the
Megan.
60s. I'm not in the 60s. I can probably handle a little moderate stuff.
So
Baptist and Andrews will be waiting for us.
Absolutely.
they're building
Absolutely.
shop right on the corner, right? Yeah.
We can bubble wrap our entire bodies.
There you go. That's a great idea. All right, man. But this has gotten bigger than a skate park. I mean, this is an entire outdoor area, right? That you have the skate park, but then you've got some walking paths. Like, what else is going in with this?
Yeah, walking, jogging paths, exercise stations. There's going to be a stage integrated into the design. Kind of what we did when we were figuring out how to lay the space out. And on the site, there's an existing community garden, Innisfree Hotels from the ground up community garden. But we went and looked at the city's initial plan they came up with back in, I think it was 2004, and it's to revitalize that entire Hollis T. Williams corridor that starts at Wright Street and goes all the way to Jordan Street. And so we took their plan and incorporated activities and amenities into our design that were consistent with that original plan. So we're doing one city block at Hain and Jackson Street, LaRua and Tarragona, and the idea is to be the catalyst for this much bigger Greenway plan. And if you think about it, where I-110 kind of ends right there, that's the gateway into our downtown and waterfront. And when people are coming to Pensacola, that's their first impression. So
and
what
it's
we're
been
doing,
nothing. I mean, it's been grass underneath an interstate,
grass.
right?
There is Hunter Pool, Innisfree started the community garden. There's a few things happening under there, but it has incredible potential.
Mm-hmm. And that's only been in the last couple of years. So, I mean, for the most part, that's been what most people would consider wasted space, right? But you guys are turning it into something really, really utilized. You know?
Yeah, top-notch skate park. Like
You're so stoked, dude.
We're working with a company called Spawn Ranch out of Los Angeles, and you mentioned the X Games, and these guys have actually designed a lot of the X Games parks, and they're coming to Pensacola in February. I think February 20th.
Very cool.
So we're going to have kind of a community input type meeting. I think we will probably do that at Vinyl.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be a section where we get all the skateboarders, rollerbladers, bikers to come out and give their input. And we'll have the Spawn Ranch guys there, but then we'll also have Jerry Pate Company there, and they are our landscape architect, Steve Dana specifically. So people can give input on the other amenities and structural elements in the park.
Very cool, man. So a couple questions. When is this expected to be completed?
That's a good question.
That's a question for Vinyl, right?
Yeah, I can tell you where we are right now.
Okay.
So it turns out when you take on a project like this, there's a lot of costs that are preliminary development costs.
Sure.
They don't actually go to the brick and mortar of the park, and
Yeah,
that's
you can't just walk out there with a shovel and start digging.
That's
right?
what we're working on right now. And turns out a lot of those costs are pretty expensive. About $125,000 worth of soft costs or preliminary development costs for a project like this. And we're about 75% of the way there to our soft cost goals. So once we do this event at Vinyl and we have kind of a finalized design in the spring, we're going to kick off phase 2. And that's where we start raising money for the brick and mortar, and we'll reveal kind of the new design for the park. But a lot of corporations and family foundations I've spoken with are very interested in contributing to phase 2. And there's also several much larger funding sources that we will be able to pursue once we have phase 1 complete, because you can't really go after
you got to have the
money
business
like
plan.
that
I get it.
unless you have your construction documents and know what everything's going to cost. And so it's just a process, kind of like Megan was saying. She's been doing this for 5 years. And
I'd like to skate before then, though, by the way.
Yeah. So you skate?
I'm going to learn. Actually, I've rollerbladed all the time. I'm
just joking.
Like that's so that's the bad guy. So yes, I can skate. No, I cannot really skate park safely. Right. In fact, the last 2 times I've hurt myself. So that's probably my sign. Right. But I can totally jog on the jogging path.
You can get on the bunny trail with the bunny hill.
Yeah, I will be the one wrapped in bubble wrap for sure.
We'll get you some cool clothes and dress you cool. You can.
I'll just stand on the sidelines and
look like you skate.
Yeah, there you go. So, my next question was what can we do to help? Like, what do you guys need right now?
Now,
other than money, and if you do need money, where do we give it to?
upwardintuition.org/donate. There's a donation portal on there, or you can mail a check to our P.O. box. Putting me in touch with like-minded people and getting people like Megan and myself in front of groups to talk to people. We have these finally have some nice marketing materials and brochures, and we have these cards as well where people can leave their information. So that way we can get them signed up for our newsletter, and they can learn on the card kind of how they can be involved.
So one of the things I've really liked here that has been new to me in this process is sort of the same thing that happened with Maritime Park, and that was there was a lot of community involvement. There was the option for the community to completely be involved if you were there, have a say-so on what you wanted, how you thought it should turn out, and I think that, as we've seen with Maritime Park, obviously that pays off. So watching you all take that approach in that same way, regardless of what's going to be said or not be said, is huge. It's very brave, right? Because there's going to be a lot of people that want to shoot some stuff down. I get it. They're out there.
There's a few.
They're out there, but
they don't skate.
Exactly. Yeah. They don't rollerblade either. but I mean, that's a big step to take, right? For somebody to throw your dream out there like that and to leave it wide open for criticism and for people to challenge it is huge, man. So
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And anything we can do to help, obviously, we're here. So
I appreciate that.
I'm gonna learn. I'll learn. I think I've got some time.
Yes.
So
can I share a story?
Yeah, by all means.
Okay. Before we get off the skate park thing, I know we're live, so I don't know. I always worry when I do these kind of things, but my past is bound to get out there, even though a lot of it has been destroyed. But
gotta delete that MySpace page.
I know. I'm telling you, I need to find that old password. Back in I'm thinking it's 1989. I went to UWF. I was a graduated from UWF. I didn't graduate then. It took me many years to graduate after that. But I was a young punk girl and much of a delinquent and an outside of the box. Megan's looking at me really crazy now.
Not delinquent like in the bad way. Just, we
just won't leave. Yeah, we'll just let that go. But no, I was definitely outside the box and definitely looking to find myself and figure out, where I was in my place in the world. And so I gravitated to things that were not necessarily normal for a girl, young lady to do. And so I skated. And John and I have talked a little bit about that. Keith and I have talked a little bit about that. And there's many people that do know that if you really go back in my Facebook page, you can find some really old pictures that people have refused to destroy. But they're out there. But when I was at UWF, I had very much leadership in mind. So I went to the actual board of the trustees for UWF, and I advocated for a UWF skateboarding club to be formed. And I don't know if this is still the case, but in the UWF way of doing things, if a student comes and says, we have this kind of support and we want to start this type of effort, they really don't stop you. So we started a skateboard club, and it was nothing more than me and probably two people. It felt like we had an army, but it was just a few of us that started it. And then we actually went to them and tried to pitch them to put a skate park at UWF. And it was horrible, and we didn't have, we didn't know anything about business plans or anything. We literally, we're like, hey, we got some plywood.
Pour some concrete, grab a shovel, let's go.
We got some plywood and some nails. We can build it right now.
Yeah.
But I just want to say that to encourage you that, like you said, Megan's been working on this for a long time. That effort has been building for a long time, and the culture has changed, and you do have the support of the community, and you do have a lot of people out there that know that, skateboarders aren't like the skateboarders were back in the mid 90s, early, 80s, back when I was doing it. So I just want to encourage you to continue in that path. And there's a lot of people, we've already seen what putting the right people in the right space can do to change large bodies of thinking.
Yeah.
Thanks, Colleen.
It's powerful.
Yeah. The skateboard club doesn't exist anymore, sadly to say.
I'm so going to Google some stuff when we get done.
You can find it.
I believe it. I believe it. So.
There's a current politician here locally that can actually prove that.
Yeah,
because
I'm sure Colton's got a couple of things in his pocket.
Colton definitely does. Yeah, but no, there was somebody else that boycotted it heavy, and that's not why we didn't get it. We didn't get it because we didn't know what we were doing. But he really advocated against us, and he was the president of the Student Government Association for UWF back then.
Yeah.
He and I are friends
now. Be curious. Yeah, how are you? You should buy him a skateboard for Christmas next year.
I really should.
I wonder if he supports our project.
I don't know. I'd love to reach out to him.
I'm curious who this
A chance to totally redeem yourself.
I'll tell you off the air who it is. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
It's okay. All right. So then this moves right into the work you're doing. I don't even know where to start because there's so much. Well, no, but I mean, like you're saying, it's work. You have to dedicate yourself to it. You have to believe in it, and you have to face the adversaries when they're in front of you and not give up, right? And you go home and you lose steam one day, but then the next morning you're back at it. Yep. And I think what you're doing is just as powerful in that way of teaching, and in your case, women that everything, first of all, is always equal and sometimes definitely supersedes. But that there is power in that, and that there is value in the ways that are different between male and female, and the ways that thinking goes and processes and stuff like that. And I've watched you come from a couple to how many members are you now?
We're over 80.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just rolled out membership in March. Yeah. And we're over 80.
And you've got people meeting all the time and talking. So you've got, fill us in. Okay. The rest of the world may not know.
Oh, that's true. That's true. No, we started 2004, so we've been around for a little while. Didn't really get full-time into it. The quick story is I was a financial advisor for 25 years. And in the financial advising world, I had to find my own clients. I wasn't given any clients. And so I had to get out there and network and network and network and network and network and network. It's very low cost. It's something that somebody in business can get into pretty quickly. And then, in the financial advising world, people want to work with people they know, like, and trust. So the best way to see that is through one-on-one, hand holding and shaking hands and meeting people and handing out business cards. So I was heavy into networking, and Hurricane Ivan hit, and it about destroyed my entire market. If you were here during Ivan, it changed the landscape, not only physically, but also from a business perspective. Yeah. A lot of the places we used to network at went away. The buildings literally washed away, or the organizations that were networking couldn't afford to continue because a lot of their members were then rebuilding homes, or they weren't, networking
pulling boats out of your yard and all kinds of stuff.
Or they were moving. I mean, they were, it scattered
a lot of people.
It did. It changed the whole, area. And so networking ended up being one of those back burner type of things. And I was frustrated. I was stressed, and I just, it wasn't a great group of friends, but 3 of us women got together and we just said, what are you doing? And I need some motivation, and I'm struggling, and we're wearing shorts, and we're, not in business attire or anything like that. We just needed to know where we could go to get back, to focus on our business. So we went to lunch one day. It happened to be on a Friday. It was lunch, and we probably picked the closest place that even had air conditioning at the time. And we met, and we got so motivated between the 3 of us because I didn't know what to do, but I absolutely could look at the woman across from me and tell her what I thought she could do. And then she could look at the other one and tell her what she thought she could do. None of us knew what we could do ourselves, but we knew absolutely what we could help encourage the other one to do. And when we left that meeting, we all walked out of there. I still remember, like, my shoulders being so high, and just, my motivation level was through the roof, and I was so encouraged, so inspired, and I was just like, yes, we can do this. And we knew between the 3 of us that motivation level was going to go away. As soon as you walk outside, it's, 90 degrees out, and the world looked horrible. There's blue tarps everywhere. And, we realized, okay, this is going to go away in a few days or a few weeks. So we need to do this again next month. And so we all whipped out our paper calendars back then and we put it on the calendar for the next month, same day, same time, same place. But between that time, I told half a dozen other women about this amazing experience that happened. Mm-hmm. And so did the other 2 women as well. So the next time that we had the meeting, about 10 or 12 of us showed up, and we did the exact same thing. We just looked around and said, what are you struggling with? What can we do to help? I've tried that. No, let's try this. Or, here's what I would do. And we just came together with more of a culture of let's share information in a non-competitive type of arena to just help motivate each other. And from then on, we just kept doing that month after month after month. And officially, we realized, hey, we actually started something. Yeah. And we had more and more and more women starting to come. And at first, we just called it, are you going to that women's lunch meeting, women's business lunch? And literally, that's what we called it for, I think, 7 years, was Women's Business Lunch. And so in 2013, we said, well, we're official and we need to start, accepting money, and we need to start planning other things besides just a lunch. And so let's call ourselves something different. So that's when we incorporated as Powerful Women of the Gulf Coast. We still do the monthly networking meetings in Pensacola. We meet at the Gulf Coast Kids House, and we do have a charitable aspect with what we do, because we just donated a check to them for $3,000, a little over $3,000 from our annual conference this past year.
Very cool.
Yes, Megan was a speaker at that conference, so your speech helped us generate some of that funds to be able to give to
You made him
Gulf
cry,
Coast
didn't you?
Kids House.
You did,
She was
didn't you?
awesome. She was awesome. We got back so much awesome feedback from every one of our speakers. But we do an annual conference. We do the monthly networking meetings, Pensacola and Gulf Breeze. We do an annual conference that's open to women, but then we also do a couple other events leading up to it that are open to men and women. We do a quarterly print magazine that we're hoping the next edition will be out in the next several weeks. And that's going to be chock full of more information, not necessarily only for women, but it's delivered by women. So it's networking tips, it's marketing, it's business development that's just coming from a woman's perspective, but it's applicable to men and women alike. And then we also do, what's the
radio
thing?
show?
We do a radio show, absolutely, twice a month, yes. And I've got my next, I think, 10 shows booked already for the radio show, and that's awesome. We did a show this morning with Amy Remington, so that's coming out, but the one right before that was Quint Studer.
Yeah.
And so we don't always just pick women, but we look for people that have some type of opinion about women in business. And he was phenomenal, and he shared so much great information about just business in general. And then the last thing that we do, we just added this one last year as well, but we do something called Power Up. And Power Up is a 12-week educational series where you come and you go to hour-and-a-half-long classes once a week, and they center around sales, skills, marketing, networking, and business efficiency.
Feed your mind.
I'm telling you,
love it.
it's about lifelong learning. We have a culture of collaboration. We have a culture of empowering others. We have a culture of lifelong learning.
I love those words.
Yeah,
I really do.
We have a culture of success, and we have a culture of charitable giving. If we all, and I believe so much, Keith, in what you're doing, because I think if we all worked on ourselves, and we can't work on the people around us, just like Megan said, you can't control what somebody else is going to do for their health, but you can absolutely control what you're going to do for yourself.
Gosh, she's lining you right up, Arvin.
And if we each work on ourselves, then we're going to naturally increase our community. And if our community is better, then our whole southeastern culture is better, and then that just grows and grows and grows and grows.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm gonna tell you something, and no judging. Okay, so
this is not about the pictures, right?
No.
Good.
No, this is all me, totally me. So, back in college, I started watching Sex and the City because I wanted some form of insight on how women think. Because let's face it, there are two different worlds. There really are. You can laugh into the microphone, Megan. It's okay.
I'm afraid I'm going to laugh too hard into the microphone.
So, and I say all of that because obviously that is not the representation for all women, or even the majority, right? It's drama, and it's created, and it's a lot of stuff. But there is some truth into some of it,
some
right?
Some of it's reality, absolutely.
But what that leads me into is that reading the magazine and hearing the other sides of the interviews and hearing the perspectives of leadership and business from a female point of view is invaluable. If you can take it, like, remove the sex from it, right? Remove the male or female from it and just take it as what it is and try applying some of it. And I promise you, there's some really good stuff in there, right?
Yeah, there is.
And Stone has said this to you directly. He'd rather do business with a woman. He'd rather have a female running the things on the back end stuff, because it's been organized, it's been straight, it's been, when it was said, it was done. So,
and he's got daughters too.
And he does it. Yes. And so, and I have too. So I've totally feel your world to an extent from a 13-year-old point of view, right? But there's something there, right? There's something there, and it is very, very valuable. And so remove any of the male-female thing for a second and just feed your brain with it, right?
Absolutely.
And that's one of the things that I have really gotten from our time together and the work that we've been doing together, is that there's some really good tips in there, right?
Yeah.
There's some really good insight. And there's a way to step back from your shoes and really take a different perspective. And I think if more people did that on a daily basis, we'd be in a lot better place.
Absolutely. And I agree with that. We've been questioned over the past. We get some harsh feedback sometimes from some men that say, powerful women, who do you think you are? Why should we have an organization called Powerful Women? Where's the powerful men of the Gulf Coast? And I laugh right back at them and tell them, the men don't need that. The men have not been raised in the exact same way that women have been raised in the business world. And what we're trying to do is not put women in a different position. We're just trying to bring women back up even to where men are. And it absolutely has to do with education. Like Megan said, 10% is genetics. I believe that 10% of probably what we do is actually how smart are you born, or how, what kind of genes did you come from a business perspective, but 90% of it is environment.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely true. And a lot of women just, unfortunately, for whatever reason, and I'm not saying all women, but a lot of women have just been brought up in a much different culture. I'm an example of it. I was an introvert. I was extremely shy. I had no tendency to be assertive, and I learned all that through years and years and years. And my parents, I still remember, they would always tell me when they would have dinner parties, you stay in the back room, your brother's going to come out and socialize with the grown-ups, but that's not your role in life. You need to look pretty. You need to learn how to do household chores, and one day you'll get married to somebody who will provide you all the things in your life that you want.
That sounds so horrible. It just says it like that, doesn't it?
Well, but it's true.
You're right. I know.
It's exactly true. And Keith, you and I have had these discussions, and I know you don't raise your children like that. But it happens, and it's happened to a lot of women. And that's the sad thing. The more I interview women, the more I realize they have a lot of the same stories. Mm-hmm. Some of them are still hearing it today, and some of them don't know how to tune some of that language out. Yeah. But it's absolutely true. And I tell people all the time, we're not sexist, we're sexy. So it's not
that's
about,
a bumper sticker.
There you go. It's not that we want to show that we're better than men. It's just we want an equal chance.
Yeah. Very cool.
And sometimes we have to provide more of that education, more of that motivation, more of that encouragement for women, because they absolutely need it. Yeah. The men don't. Impact 100 is another example of it. You don't need to get 1,000 men together to decide who to give $1 million to.
I'll take it right here. There is no need for a committee on that one.
Well, if men wanted to contribute to something, if you and Calvin wanted to contribute, or you and John right here wanted to contribute to something, y'all would just write a check and contribute. You wouldn't have to talk about it. Megan and I might sit down and go, well, let's think about it. Who should we give this money to? We might want that type of relationship. It's just different. It doesn't mean it's better. It doesn't mean it's worse. It's just different.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the biggest insights that I got, is that the processing, the actual brain processing of working through issues, problems, fun, whatever, just the way that it's talked out, like you're saying, is completely different.
It is.
It's so different.
And the more that women stop trying to be like men, I think the more it helps.
Oh, agreed. Because I think the more, there's times I've had to step back and start processing like women process, because and it's helped us make some really good business decisions, right?
Absolutely.
Guys, we're taught whatever, we'll machismo it all day long, and just whatever comes will comes. But when you get into the world of business, that doesn't always work.
Yep. When I was in the financial advising world, they always talked about women advisors and women clients made better investment decisions because they thought longer about things. They didn't jump into things as quickly as men do. So, it's just, we are wired differently, and we should appreciate that. And instead of try to be like each other, we're not, we're different. Yeah. Let's acknowledge it, and then work with those, deficits or those attributes. Yeah. Equally.
Very cool. So Colleen fills them all with knowledge, and you tell them all just to let it go, Arvin. Yeah, just let it go for a little while.
Hopefully they don't take that as let the knowledge go.
No.
Learn something.
But stop thinking about everything for 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, I mean, let go of that which does not move you forward.
Yeah.
We carry a lot of baggage with us, and we get really good at hiding everything. We hide it behind a personality. And that becomes us, when that may not really be who we are.
Sometimes you don't even know it. I mean, sometimes you've got stuff in there that's just so subliminal, you don't even realize it's blocking you.
Yeah, you believe your own lies.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
We are our own worst mirrors.
Agreed. Yeah, I got to say, when Megan was speaking about blue zones, I wanted to give you like 1,000 high fives. This is about like everything I think about, every minute of every day.
This is why you're here.
Yeah, it's all making sense now, Keith.
Yeah, because Arvin was scheduled before, and I was like, dude, just trust me. Show up Friday the 13th at 2 o'clock.
So I was wondering why nobody answered the door.
So tell me, for those that don't know what Mode is and sort of the history and how you got where you are right now, let's give them a brief summary.
Yeah, so Mode is really it started off as a float center. The idea was a float center, a place to experience sensory deprivation, a place to cut out the outside world and to really turn your focus inward. But as I became more obsessed with it and other technologies that can be combined with it to greater effect, it became more of a wellness lab. That's why I call it a wellness lab, because we're still discovering new ways of combining the technology that we have. Also, information like blue zones with, diets, there's just so much new information coming out, and some of that new information is old information being brought back and say, hey, this stuff still works. Why are we still looking for some...
Like your body's designed this way. Why are you trying to screw it up?
Yeah, ancient cultures figured this stuff out, and they survived thousands of years. Why are we having so much trouble making it to the end of our lives and fully functional? It's not about necessarily how long you can live. It's how well you can live during that time. Yeah. And what I found is diet is the last thing a person's willing to change. It is something that we have absolute control over. And the rest of our lives, we have no control over. And so I think people will do something as long as there's an element of pleasure to it.
Or enough pain.
Or enough pain.
Yep.
Yeah. And so that's what we're trying to offer. We're trying to say, look, let's start with the pleasure element of it, and then let's work on the other stuff. Because a lot of times when people aren't well, it takes every bit of willpower just to get up out of bed in the morning and get to work or get started with your day. And we also noticed that a lot of people hide their pain really well rather than just dealing with it, because sometimes they've given up. It's like, look, I've tried pills. I've tried, going to the doctor and having surgery, and I'm scared by that. And, we're trying to find a different way. I think medicine is a great option to have, but I think we've turned it into our first option.
Right.
It's like, here's a symptom. Let me get rid of it. Let me get back to work. I don't have enough time to deal with it right now. So let's just get the body working the way it was meant to work, the way it's worked for millions of years. Well, I don't know about millions, but hundreds of thousands, something like that.
Yeah, you can go for millions.
Yeah, let's say millions.
Nobody can Google it anyway, so you're all good.
That's right. But
so, and I think, the body is very powerful and the mind even more. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of things in our own lives, like you said, that we have control over and that we can fix. Mm-hmm. You can literally fix by changing your thoughts as thoughts become reality, right? And I completely believe in that. And part of what you do for those that are ready for it, because let's face it, it's a big step. Mm-hmm. And I say this because I've been going through it for really, really hard for the last 2 years. But when you choose to look inward and you choose to deal with whatever it is that you find, I promise you, no matter what it is, you will come back on the other side 150 times better. You really will. People are scared to do that, because then that means we have to admit some things to ourselves that we don't want to, because society wants to tell you that's not cool, right?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes floating isn't about turning inward. It's sometimes about just letting go and falling asleep.
Yep.
And waking up without those things that would limit you, without the pain, without the anxiety, without just that overload of stress that takes you away from your mission in life. Yeah. There's a lot of distractions, and unfortunately we hold on to the distractions and we let go of the important things. Yeah. And so I don't see a separation between the mind and the body. The mind is the body.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you.
And so if we can relax the body, get rid of all the tension, and then the real you springs forward. Yeah. And you're like, oh my God, I forgot about those thoughts I had, that direction I had.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see the transformation. Yeah.
So, and the other thing is too, is, and I don't want to scare people when I say, you're going to always go internal, because sometimes you don't. Like you just said, like you can float all day long, or you can do the sonic thing, or you can do the sauna. And there are things there that just help you get rid of stuff that's in your body, whether it's the toxins or whether it's the aches or the joints. It's not, in fact, it very rarely happens where you can shut off that long to actually start really exploring the inside consciousness of who you are, right? And you have to do it very consistently.
And some people are really good at it. Some people are really bad at it. I'm really bad at it. Okay? Like
your mom's really good at it.
My mom's really good at it. She didn't know that would be even possible to go to the places that she went in her mind. Yeah. Right. But I'll get in a float tank and I'll just lie there restless.
Yeah.
But that's just a signal to me that maybe I need to work on it a little bit.
Maybe you need to lay in the
more,
float
not
tank more
just in
often.
the tank. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, some people need meditation where it's quiet and they're very still and they turn their focus inward. Other people need active meditation where they need to burn off all this excess anxiety and excess stress so that they can finally calm themselves down and let the natural flow of thoughts happen. But so for me, a vibration sauna, I just bear the heat, sweat it all out.
Yep.
I get out of that feeling like I floated. Other people, they don't need that. If you're a mom, if you have children, maybe if you're a dad too, you got to suck it up and just deal with it. Be quiet. I mean, you don't have to, but
we recommend. Right?
Yeah, that's what my mom did. I noticed that my mom went through a lot of stress just raising kids. I mean, that's just
we're wired for it. We really are.
Yeah.
I mean, we're wired to deal with stress because of the environments that we're in.
But I mean, there are people just waiting to let go, and they just don't know that there's a vehicle out there to do that. Yeah. And I'm not saying that floating is for everybody. It might not be. Some people
running.
Floated,
So they do running, or like you said, working out, or actively.
Just some type of release. Don't hold on to it. Let go of it some way.
Yeah.
And that's really important, just connecting back to our own bodies. So there are different paths to getting there, but sometimes in healthcare, we see the dangers of disconnecting your body. So from the eating disorder point of view, anytime that it's like when you're disconnecting that mind-body connection, you're feeling like your body's attacking you and then you attack back. And there's not a lot of good things that can come from that space. So whatever it is can be that first step in feeling like the body and the brain are on the same team. It's funny that you said about the mind and body is the same, because I always say your body hears what your mind says or thinks.
Yep.
So you may, even when you make a disparaging health comment, I'll hear some people that will make a joke about themselves being overweight. And I always say, that's not funny.
Yeah.
Because, and it might be literally funny and other people might laugh at them, but I hate to hear those things because it's coming from somewhere real deep. And I love that I can say, okay, let's not always in the real time is the time to deal with that, but listen to what you're saying and what do you think that actually means?
Well, and I think a big thing that both of you have said is that if you listen to your body, like truly listen to your body, I don't think that's a skill that is not always adherent. And over the last 2 years for me, and I know Calvin and I, we work this way, and it's really weird because it's a whole new thing. But like a headache, and you take 2 aspirin, you keep pushing through, right? Or my knee hurts, well, whatever, I'm gonna push through. If you listen to your body, or if you feel off, or if you feel like you're not in tune with what you're doing or where you're going, stop, because you're not only going to make it bad for you. I promise you, those that are about to come into your area, it's not going to be good for them either. So there's times that, Calvin and I, we'll look at each other. It's like 11 in the morning. He's like, dude, I'm not feeling it. I got to go. Right. Or I'm like, hey, it's just not there today. And he's like, dude, go zen or go do what you got to do. And for us, for those that some of the other clients and stuff that we work with, they're like, well, why aren't you at work today? And it's just like, dude, it's just not there. So we'll catch up tomorrow. Right. And a lot of people don't understand that, but I can tell you from him and I doing that and really operating from that place. And I keep sharing Calvin because I know he's the only other one that's experienced it with me. So, but it's worked, right? We've listened to the body, not only the physical, but the mental, and just to be able to know sort of where we are, where we stand, and whether I'm going to be able to tackle the world today, or I just need to go sit on the beach, right? Or skate or float or whatever. So that's it. Yeah, exactly. On the days that we haven't done that, exactly what Calvin's saying is that we've paid the price. Something didn't go right, or, a deal fell through, or things just didn't fit like they fit. It wasn't harmony like it sort of was here today. And I think that's huge. It's a skill a lot of people don't have.
Yeah. And actually we teach ourselves out of it. I think that, with kids and things like that, we're much better at it until we get structures in society that make it really hard. And there's this great study, and it's actually focusing on the nutrition end of that piece, is that they took kids that hadn't been in school yet or preschool or any really socialization, and they all went out and played in the playground. Hot and sweaty, all fired up. They come in, and half of the fruit juice was full sugar, kind of like a Kool-Aid. And the other half was basically like a fruit with some water in it. So a difference in between 10 calories and 100 calories. The kids that came in, that had the full sugar juice drank like half and they were like, I'm done, thanks. And the kids that had the basic water, flavored water, drank it all down. And, when we go through life and we were finishing our plate, and there's all these other things that we learn that we just stop listening to our body. So whatever those cues are, whether it's the headache, well, why do I have a headache? Am I dehydrated? Have I drank any water today? But you're right, we reached that aspirin. Yeah. So from the nutrition end, from the, what am I stressed about? What is giving me this headache? Or sleeping at night? And all these other cues that our body is literally screaming at us, and we just ignore it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we think it's an ailment because of whatever we've been doing, and then we go looking for the cures in sometimes the wrong places, right?
Right.
So,
but yeah, I mean, when you talked about DNA before, it's like, oh, well, I inherited that from my parents, and you also said, again, I'm going to repeat half of the things you said here.
Preach it.
But yeah, it's
you two are going to be friends.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you do inherit habits from your parents. So if you say, well, my dad was diabetic and his dad was diabetic, well, what do they eat?
Yeah.
Okay. You learn to eat that way. So of course, you're susceptible to those risk factors too. So yeah, I mean, listening to your body it's something we don't do. But also we get on the internet and we find all these gurus that tell us this is the way to live, this is what to eat. And we do it. And then we get jaded that didn't work for us. And then we give up. And then we go back to the habits that are the absolute worst for us. So
that WebMD doesn't work. So there was a joke I heard the other day that somebody told us. They were like, that time when you're in the waiting room between the nurse and the doctor? That's because the doctor's on WebMD trying to figure out what's wrong with you. Which, sorry for all those doctor listeners, it was a joke. So
sorry, Mom.
Yeah.
So, but the point is, there is not one size fits all, and we're all searching for that magic bullet, and it's just not out there. And so we have to be open enough to being our own human guinea pigs on some level. And that's where I think a lot of this goodness starts from, is like the not being afraid to I'm going to learn to skate at whatever age, or I'm going to go try something I've never done. And even that process, I think, frees your mind in a lot of ways to being open to what that looks like, rather than looking for an exact prescription that's going to lead you to this place. Part of it is the journey and figuring out along the way.
Very cool.
Well, and like you said, I think it's deeper than just, hey, my head hurts, I have a headache. It's what other symptoms are below that, or, I can't relax. Well, why can't you relax? It's about not, I think we've become a culture of instant gratification, and we want that quick solution. We want to make that quick diagnosis right away. And sometimes those issues are not quick to diagnose. Sometimes they stem back, like me, raised in a culture where, my parents didn't encourage me to be independent. Well, when I became an adult and I was skateboarding, it wasn't that I was just a rebel. It was, wait a minute, this goes way back to maybe when I was 3 and 4 years old. Yeah. So it wasn't just, okay, I'm a rebel because I'm just a delinquent. It was a deeper, much deeper, psychology and much deeper definition of where that came from.
And a good start is, surrounding yourself with those things that you need more of in your life. And, we talk about in healthcare about, things being contagious, and we think about the flu and colds and coughs, and you see someone coughing, you keep them at an arm's distance and you're like, I'm going the other direction. But we forget that healthy behaviors are even more contagious. Because if you have that friend or that colleague or that coworker, that neighbor who is like, hey, we're going to do this really cool thing. Don't ask any questions. Just show up. And you trust them and you're like, okay, I'm in, or that friend when someone suggests, hey, let's go to dinner. Okay. Yeah. But let's meet, let's park here at Maritime Park and let's walk downtown before the dinner. Most people, will go along for that ride and realize, man, I really needed this walk, and fresh air felt really good after dinner. And that upward spiral, is part of what we're talking about. The power in that.
Yeah. Very cool. So the one last thing I want to ask Arvin about. So the moment that you said, oh, dude, I'm going to build float tanks and put them in a room and people are going to pay me to come in them. Again, big bite to chew, right? That's huge.
Yeah.
You took a big risk in a community that may not necessarily have been as open to or even understood what you were doing.
Yeah, I mean that thought did cross my mind.
Yeah, and yet you went ahead with it.
Yeah, I was too obsessed with it. I mean, I had already committed emotionally and focused all my mental effort into it. I've been a naturally curious person my whole life, and probably because I hadn't found the thing that really just turned me on and made me want to work towards it. But once I discovered that, it just led to so many other things in in that, I guess, realm of wellness that I just couldn't stop myself. And by the time I drew up the plans and, everything else, I was too committed to turn back.
Yeah.
And I think
you burned the boats, didn't you?
Yeah, I burned the boats and I couldn't have gone back. So I was like, okay, forward. That's where we go. And I just tried to make it really, really cool looking. So
Very
that
cool.
all the people,
and it does, man.
Gotta make it
It
cool.
really does.
And I don't think anybody would disagree. That's what Pensacola needs. We need early adopters. We need change makers.
Yeah.
We need
out of
we
the
need
box
boat
or
burners.
get rid of the box. And I agree. And I think, every community needs it because, you guys are the people that are going to face the dangers and the fear for everybody else. But then in the end, it's going to be like, okay, see, I told you. Right. And then it comes to moments like this where it's like, honestly, thank you, because what you're doing is making a difference. And so that's why you're here.
Yeah, I appreciate all you guys being here. Actually,
Yeah,
this is
see?
awesome because
Next time I call you, it's going to be something even cooler.
Well, yeah, I mean, like you do something, it's like you get so involved in it that you kind of forget to go out into the world and meet people and talk.
Yeah, welcome to being a business owner, right?
Yeah, it's like I'll spend weeks just away from people, just working on stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, I
forgot Domino's was right next door, right? Yeah. So, all right. So we're getting to the end of time, but before we're going, so I want everybody to one by one look at the camera, give them website addresses, contact information, all of that good stuff, so that people can find out or can educate themselves or donate to all of the good, cool work that you guys are doing.
Okay, just all at the same time.
If that works for you, give it a shot. But I'm going to say no. Let's go one. So go for it.
Yeah, I'm Arvin with Mode, Mind, and Body. We're at www. Do people still say that? No.
Yeah.
Sorry,
you don't have to.
You can give us your MySpace page too.
Yeah. Oh my God, I dated myself. Okay. It's modemindandbody.com. We're on Facebook and Twitter. We're on 3101 East Cervantes, 850-898-9626.
And for Powerful Women of the Gulf Coast, we have a Facebook page called Powerful Women of the Gulf Coast, and our regular website is powerfulwomengulfcoast.com. We don't have a Twitter page. We don't have an Instagram. We don't have a Pinterest. So if you really want to find us, it's Facebook and website. And we'd love for you to just come and attend our meetings.
John with Upward Intuition. Check us out at upwardintuition.org. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
All the things that Colleen doesn't have.
And YouTube. What else?
Where can they donate, John, if they want to help?
Upwardintuition.org/donate.
And then when is your vinyl event? Because
I believe February 20th, but if you go and like our Facebook page, we'll keep you updated on the exact date. But it looks like February 20th. And if you want to shoot me an email, it's John, Jon, at upwardintuition.org.
So Megan McCarthy at Baptist, we're very easy to find. It's eBaptist Healthcare is the website, but the Baptist Facebook page is actually a great way to stay up to date on all the cool things we're doing. One of our community partnerships with the YMCA, every Wednesday at noon, we do a free community nutrition cooking demonstration in the Gulf Power Demo Kitchen at the brand new YMCA. So that's the best way to come out and meet us as well.
Very cool. All right, guys, you know us. We're Picola Radio X on Twitter, Picola BRX on Facebook, or Pensacola.business Radio X on your website, or Channel 17, or Channel 30A. So we're going to be all over the place and coming to you. If you guys want to get in touch with us, find us on either of those places and email us, and we'll be more than happy to have you as a guest. I want to thank all of you very, very much for joining me this afternoon. And this has been Pensacola Business Radio, where business is good and your work matters.